Suffering will also pass. The Buddhist teaching when you want to change your life. Hello everyone. Welcome to Mind Podcast, Buddhism. If today you are sitting alone with a heart heavy, as if carrying a gray sky on your shoulders, please let me sit beside you and listen to each weary breath. Perhaps you are going through days that seem to have no light, where sadness seeps into every moment and time drifts by as slowly as a drop of dew that refuses to fall. But you know, the Buddha taught that everything in this life is impermanent, and even the deepest suffering will not stay with us forever. Like a heavy rain that lasts for hours and then stops to make way for the dawn. Perhaps words of comfort cannot erase all that you are enduring right now. Yet I believe that if you let your heart open and receive each mindful breath, you will realize that pain also has its limits. It comes, it remains for a while, and then it quietly leaves, like autumn leaves letting themselves fall back to the earth. In that very moment, you will see that you are still whole, still alive, still able to smile, even if only faintly. So right now, let your mind grow quiet and gently set down the burden you have carried for so long. Trust that, as the Buddha taught, nothing lasts forever, not even suffering. One day, when you look back, you will see that this very stretch of road taught you how to stand firm, how to love yourself, and how to smile in the midst of storms. There are nights so long and so still that it seems the world outside has fallen asleep, leaving only you awake with restless waves in the heart. Pain then feels like a wound still oozing, each breath a reminder. You feel alone on an open sea with nothing to hold on to. Perhaps today you are just like that, carrying in your heart an untold story, a loss not yet healed, or a hurt carved deep. But please do not despair, because everything, even the pain you thought would cling to you for life, will also pass. You are watching the Lin Ung Dharma channel. The Buddha once said that all phenomena in the world are impermanent. Whatever comes will go, whatever begins will end. Nothing endures forever, not happiness nor suffering. Like a river that has never been still for even a moment. Today's water is not yesterday's water. Drop by drop it flows on, carrying away what has grown old. The human mind is the same, and so are our emotions, constantly changing. Therefore do not think your sadness will stay with you forever. It is only a guest who stops by for a time and then departs. An old story tells of a man who came to the Buddha in utter despair. He carried a loss so great that he felt his life had completely collapsed. When he met the Buddha, he asked only one question. "Venerable Buddha, how can I stop hurting like this?" The Buddha did not answer at once. He gently picked up a yellow leaf that had just fallen before him and said, "Do you see this leaf? It was green and swaying on the branch only yesterday. Today, when the conditions were sufficient, it left the branch and fell to the ground." Human life is the same. Joy and sorrow are like this leaf. They do not remain forever on the tree of our life. Do not try to hold on or cling. When you accept and let go, your heart will grow light. The man silently looked at the leaf in the Buddha's hand and then at his own life. He realized that his pain was also just a yellow leaf. It had appeared, it had stayed, and now it was time to fall. We are the same. Today's pain, however deep, is only one part of life's boundless current. It is not everything, and it cannot imprison us forever. When we understand that all things change, we realize we do not have to fight sadness to the point of exhaustion. We only need to recognize it, accept that it is here, and let it drift by like clouds crossing the sky. The sky does not try to hold the clouds, and the clouds do not stay forever. Our mind needs to be that open, so sorrow can come and go naturally. And when it has gone, you will find within yourself a quiet, open space where light can enter. You may not believe it right now, but one day, when you look back, you will see that what you are enduring today has grown far away. Wounds will heal, sadness will fade, and you will smile at yourself for having passed through what once seemed impossible. As the Buddha taught, everything is impermanent, and within that impermanence there is always a gift. That gift is growth, steadiness, and the trust that any storm will pass, leaving us with a heart that knows love and gratitude more deeply. So if you are suffering, tell yourself that it too will pass. Let each breath bring you back to the present, so you can feel life continuing in every cell. Every present moment is a step farther from old pain and closer to the peace you deserve. One autumn morning, I walked along the little path leading to the fields behind the village. A few clouds drifted across the sky, and the gentle sunlight seemed to soothe each leaf. A yellow leaf fell right before me. It left the branch without a sound, and the wind carried it away. I bent down and picked it up. In that moment, a feeling washed over me. Human life is like this leaf. When the conditions are sufficient, it is born. When the conditions are exhausted, it departs. Nothing can be held forever. People often say that meeting is due to conditions and parting is destiny. The Buddha taught that all phenomena arise from conditions and cease when conditions end. Union and separation are the natural order of the universe. We often think that what we have today will remain with us always: a love, a home, a friend, even a precious opportunity. Yet life has never stopped changing, and no one can step into the same river twice. The water flows, time flows, everything changes. If we truly understand conditions, we will no longer blame, resent, or cling in anguish. When the supporting conditions are present, things come of themselves without forcing. When the conditions are spent, even tears and a devoted heart cannot turn back the wheel of time. Just as spring comes and flowers bloom of themselves, autumn arrives and leaves turn gold of themselves. No one can command spring to stay, and no one can keep autumn from coming. I remember one afternoon at a temple, I heard a monk tell a story about a young woman. She loved a man deeply, and they once vowed to stay together forever. Then one day he left her without a word. She suffered, tormented herself, and could neither eat nor sleep. One day she went to the temple and asked the monk, "Teacher, why did he leave me? What did I do wrong?" The monk smiled gently, led her into the courtyard, and pointed to a lotus just beginning to open in the pond. He said, "Do you see this lotus? Yesterday it was still a closed bud. Today it has opened. In a few days it will fade. A flower blooms or withers not because anyone forces it to, but because its causes and conditions have arrived and will pass." People are the same. When the conditions remain, they stay. When the conditions end, they leave. Do not ask why, for that is the nature of life. Hearing this, the young woman burst into tears, but this time not from pain, rather because she had understood something. From then on, she gradually let go and lived more peacefully. If we contemplate carefully, every meeting in life is a gift of conditions. Some people pass through our life for only a moment, yet leave a deep imprint. Others stay with us for a long time, and still, the time comes to part. What matters is not how long we keep them, but how deeply we cherish them while we are together. Causes and conditions apply not only to love, but to every facet of life. A job, an opportunity, a joy, even a suffering, each arrives because of conditions. Sometimes suffering appears so we can learn a lesson we had never understood before. Pain teaches us to treasure happiness. Loss teaches us to cherish what remains. And when we understand that even suffering is part of causes and conditions, we welcome it with a calmer heart. In the Connected Discourses, Sutta Nikaya, the Buddha taught, because this is, that is, because this ceases, that ceases. This is dependent origination, the law by which everything operates. A seed sown in the earth will sprout when it meets sufficient light, water, and good soil. If even one factor is missing, it will not. Likewise, no event happens by accident. It arises from many conditions coming together. When a condition falls away, that event changes or ends. Therefore, when you are suffering, remember that your suffering also has its causes and conditions. It did not come to stay forever. It comes to fulfill its role, and then it will go. You need not drive it away, nor should you hold on to it. Let it come and let it go like a guest. What matters is what you learn during that time and how you grow. I once knew a woman who went through a great upheaval. She lost her husband while she was still very young and had to raise 2 small children alone. At first, she was like a person who had lost her soul, with nothing to cling to. But then she went to the temple, practiced sitting meditation, and recited the Buddha's name each night. She told me, "At that time I realized my husband's conditions to remain with me and our children had ended. His conditions were to live with me for those years, to leave me 2 children and beautiful memories. He left, but he left within me a strength I never knew I had. If I had kept clutching that loss, I could never have raised my children well. Now her children are grown and kind, and she lives a serene life. From her story, I believe even more that when we understand causes and conditions, we no longer panic or despair before life changes. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" we tell ourselves, "Causes and conditions. The time for change has come. I must take the next step." But to do that, we need to cultivate a mindful attitude. Mindfulness helps us see clearly what is happening without being swept away by it. When someone comes into our life, we welcome them with a smile. When someone leaves, we also smile and bid farewell. The mind is no longer dragged about by regret or fear. Like sitting by the sea, we see each wave wash ashore and then dissolve. Waves come, waves go, and the sea remains vast. Our mind can be the same. If it is open and still like the sea, every coming and going will feel light. If you are going through suffering, try sitting quietly, closing your eyes, and breathing deeply. Feel that pain within you, but do not name it an enemy. Regard it as a dark cloud passing across the sky. That cloud will not stay forever. The wind will blow, the sun will rise, and the sky will grow bright again. And precisely as you sit and observe, you will realize that you are not that pain. You are the one witnessing it. Life is like a river. Some stretches are gentle, others are torrential. Yet however it flows, the water still makes its way to the sea. Every joy and sorrow, loss and gain, success and failure, these are only bends in that river. None remains forever in one place. So when you meet suffering, do not think it will last a lifetime. It is merely a stretch of road you need to pass through. And once you have, you will find yourself more mature and at peace. Causes and conditions and impermanence are the two keys that open the door of inner freedom. When we understand that nothing lasts forever, we stop clinging. When we understand that everything arises from conditions, we resent less. And when both insights blend in the heart, we feel light amid all upheavals. Trust that, like a golden leaf leaving the branch, nothing is truly lost. It simply returns to Mother Earth and one day nourishes new shoots. Likewise, when something leaves your life, it is not necessarily gone for good. It is transforming to make way for other conditions to arrive. Do not be overly anxious or afraid of change. Let things come and go as naturally as clouds drifting across the sky. Live fully in each moment, for every moment is a precious condition. And remember that today's suffering will also pass, like the clearing after a storm and the dawn after the night. There are days when we find ourselves in a dark region of the soul, where laughter feels distant and the light of hope seems as thin as a thread. It might be the day you lose someone you love, or the moment you realize a long-held dream has shattered. Or it may simply be a morning when you look in the mirror and see a weary face, eyes that have lost their sparkle. In such moments, every word of comfort fades, and every attempt to chase happiness feels meaningless. But sometimes what the soul needs is not the noisy voices outside, nor hasty solutions to chase away pain. What the soul needs is stillness. Stillness does not mean avoidance or escape. It means daring to sit down, face what is there, and listen. Listen to your own breathing. Listen to the heartbeat that, though tired, keeps patiently pulsing. Listen even to the sighs hidden deep within your chest. I recall a story from Zen. A disciple came to his master in tears and said, "Master, I suffer so much. I want to be free of this suffering immediately. Please teach me how not to feel pain anymore." The master did not answer at once. He handed the disciple a cup of hot tea and said, "Sit here, hold the cup, and wait until it cools before you drink." Confused but obedient, the disciple did as he was told. After a while, when the tea had cooled, the master said, "Suffering is like this cup of hot tea. If you try to drink it right away, you will burn yourself. But if you patiently sit and let it cool, you will be able to drink and taste its flavor. Suffering is the same. Let it settle, and you will see its true nature." The Buddha once taught that nothing lasts forever, not even suffering. But to see that, we need enough stillness. When we rush to drive pain away, we only make it cling more tightly. When we brace ourselves against negative emotions, we unwittingly let them sink deeper into the soul. But when we sit down, allow ourselves to breathe slowly, allow the heart to soften, what once seemed immovable gradually melts. If today you want to cry, then cry. Do not suppress your tears, for they are the way the soul cleanses its inner wounds. But when you have finished crying, find a truly quiet place. It could be a small corner of your room, a patch of green garden, or simply by the window where you can hear the wind moving through the cracks. Sit down, close your eyes, and simply breathe. Breathe in deeply to feel the cool air filling every cell. Breathe out slowly, as if releasing a portion of the burden in your heart. Each breath is a step back home, to the home of peace within you. Do you realize that the breath is the most precious gift you have? Each morning when you wake, the first thing you do is breathe. And the last thing before leaving this world is also a breath. Yet because it is so familiar, we often forget it. The Buddha taught mindful breathing. When the mind is scattered, return to the breath, for the breath is always here, in the present. When you place your whole attention on the breath, you no longer drift back into the past to regret, nor race into the future to worry. You are here, right now. Imagine that every time you sit quietly and breathe mindfully, you are renewing yourself. The suffering may still be there, but it is no longer a raging fire. It becomes a small glow that gradually goes out as you soothe it with the peace within. Each moment of calm is like a rebirth. Why are you not the same person each time? Because you have changed a little, gentler, deeper, more at ease. One morning I sat by the veranda, watching droplets of dew lingering on the leaves. The world was very still. In the distance, a few birds began to sing. The wind passing through the trees sounded like the whisper of heaven and earth. In that moment, I realized that the suffering I had thought a giant mountain had suddenly become strangely small. Not because it had vanished, but because my mind had widened. When the mind is wide, suffering grows small. When the mind is still, suffering no longer has the power to knock us down. Sometimes everything outside remains chaotic, yet within you there is a private sky of serenity. That sky is the healing source you can return to at any time. However stormy the world may be, this place remains peaceful, like a clear forest lake. No matter how strong the surrounding winds, once the surface settles, it reflects the whole blue sky. Your mind is the same. If you have ever lived through a great storm of rain, you know no rainfall lasts forever. And after the rain, the air is fresher, the grass greener, and the sky brighter. Suffering is like the rain. When we are willing to sit with it, not run from it, at some point the rain will stop. Then we feel our heart grow light and are grateful for having patiently stayed with ourselves. In stillness, we hear our own voice most clearly, not the voice of the intellect forever parsing right and wrong, nor the voice of fear forever worrying about the future, but the voice of the heart, the voice of a deep awareness that still preserves its original clarity. When we find that voice, we are no longer lost. So if you are suffering today, do not rush to forget. Give yourself a quiet interval. Sit down, breathe slowly, and smile to yourself. Trust that each breath, each moment you abide in stillness, is a moment of self-healing. And when you open your eyes, you will find today's suffering is no longer as fierce as before. It has begun to melt, returning to you a clear and peaceful sky within. There are afternoons when the light has faded and darkness begins to fall, and suddenly the heart feels strangely empty. The sound of traffic on the street continues at its steady pace. Life outside remains hurried, yet inside there is a long silence. That silence is not necessarily comfortable. Sometimes it is heavy and twisting, especially when we have just lost something we thought we could never let go of, a loved one, a relationship, a job, or simply a habit once dear. The sudden loss leaves us raw and aching, and in that moment we often feel solitary in a world too vast. People often say we only know what is truly precious once it is gone. Indeed, when life is full, we easily forget what we already have. We are busy with new desires and plans yet to be realized, rarely pausing to look at the present. But when a piece of life's puzzle suddenly disappears, the empty space is like a bell that awakens us. We startle and realize that ordinary things present every day carry deep meaning. Then we understand that not everything is guaranteed to remain forever by our side. The Buddha taught that all things that gather will disperse, what is assembled will scatter, what is born will pass away. That is impermanence. And impermanence is not only for accepting change, it is also a reminder to cherish each present moment. The pain of loss is not a punishment. It is a gentle invitation to return within. Only by returning within do we truly see what to keep and what to release. There are stretches of the journey we must walk alone. They are not pleasant, but they are necessary. When there is no one left to share with, we finally begin to converse with ourselves. When there is nowhere to cling, we must learn to stand on our own feet. Loneliness is not necessarily a chasm of despair. Sometimes it is like a quiet forest where we can hear the leaves fall, the wind breathe, and even our own heartbeat. In that stillness, we realize how long we have neglected our inner voice. Someone once said that loneliness is a chance to become your own friend. When entangled with others, we are easily swept into their stories and forget our own. When alone, we have the chance to examine ourselves, to understand our fears, our longings, and our unhealed wounds. We discover that beneath the strong armor we usually wear is a fragile heart that needs to be held and healed. And sometimes we ourselves are the only ones who can do that for us. The Buddha taught in the Satipatthana Sutta, contemplate body, feelings, mind, and phenomena within yourself. Contemplate the body to know it is impermanent. Contemplate feelings to see they come and go. Contemplate the mind to understand that mental states are not fixed. Contemplate phenomena to realize that all things exist in dependence upon one another. When we learn to observe ourselves, we see that pain is only a current. It has come, and it will go. What remains is the stillness we discover within. Suffering does not only make us weak. If we know how to look, it is also the clearest mirror reflecting who we truly are. When things are favorable, it is easy to appear calm, easy to smile, easy to speak words of compassion. But only when we face loss does our mind reveal itself plainly. Are we hot-tempered or calm, closed or open-hearted, stubborn or able to let go? It is precisely in suffering that we learn the true lessons of patience, acceptance, and the power of release. A Zen story tells of a master who asked his student, "If you hold a glass of water, will it feel heavy or light?" The student replied, "Master, at first it is light, but if I hold it for a long time it becomes heavy." The master nodded. Just like the pain we hold in our hearts, the longer we hold it, the heavier it becomes. If you want lightness, set it down. Suffering comes to remind us that we have been holding that glass for too long. When we dare to let go, the hand naturally feels light, and the heart opens to welcome what is new. Many people fear turning inward because they fear confronting themselves. But like a potter unafraid to knead rough clay to shape a beautiful vessel, we too need the patience to knead and reshape our own mind. Suffering is the clay of life, and we are the potter. If we can accept and be patient, we will craft a version of ourselves that is more refined, more mature, and more compassionate. Sometimes the very pains that once brought us to our knees become the seeds of growth. Like the lotus that blooms only in the mud, a peaceful heart often blossoms after long, difficult days. If we had never lost our way, we would hardly cherish the feeling of finding the path home. If we had never known the chill of winter, we would hardly rejoice when spring sunlight touches our skin. Loss, loneliness, and suffering do not come to crush us. They come to teach us how to find warmth within. When we see this, we begin to feel grateful for suffering. Without it, we would forever chase what is outside and forget the serene sky within. Without it, we would struggle to understand the value of love, of peace, of moments that seem simple, like sipping a hot cup of tea on a crisp morning. Suffering helps us stop, look deeply, and return to ourselves. And once we have returned, we realize that the safest place in the world is not a sturdy house, nor someone's embrace, but a heart illuminated by understanding and compassion. One day we will smile as we look back on the days that have passed, even the darkest ones, because we understand that it was those very days that led us here, where we are clear enough to see that everything passes and nothing is forever. Suffering is only a visiting guest. The true master of the house of the heart is the peace we safeguard. Whenever the wind rises, remember the clouds will part and the sky will grow clear again. And whenever suffering surges in, remember it is an invitation to return within, to the place that has never left us for even a single moment. There are days when we feel exhausted, not because we have worked too much, but because we are holding too many things in our heart. Like a small backpack we try to stuff full, the heavy stones of the past, the shards of disappointment, even the worries of a future that has not yet come. We keep carrying, gripping tight, thinking it is responsibility, thinking it is strength. But the farther we go, the heavier our shoulders grow and the more our legs give out. Then at some point we realize we cannot go any farther, not because the road is hard, but because we refuse to put things down. I recall a story about a Zen master. One day a student came seeking instruction. He rattled on about everything he knew, all he had experienced, his difficulties, his dead ends, and the knowledge he had studied. The master smiled and poured tea into the student's cup. Even when the cup was full, he kept pouring. Tea overflowed and ran down the table. Alarmed, the student cried, "Master, the cup is full. It can hold no more." The master replied gently, "Your mind is like this cup. When it is too full, how can it receive anything new? Before you can learn more, you must put down what is weighing you down." Letting go does not mean giving up or running away. Letting go is gently opening the hand so that what no longer fits can leave on its own. Like autumn, when yellow leaves fall from the branch, not because the tree is weak, but because it is time to make room for spring shoots. When we let go, we do not lose. We create space for what is fresh to enter. If we cling to an empty vessel, how can cool water be poured in? If we cling to a worn-out sorrow, how can joy find a place to dwell? People often mistake tight holding for safety, but the truth is, the tighter the grip, the greater the suffering. Like sand clenched in a fist, the harder you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. So it is with love, and so it is with happiness. The Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent. Everything that comes will go. If we force things to stay, we are resisting the very laws of the universe. Only when we go with them does the heart truly rest. There are relationships we did everything to keep, yet they could not be as before. There are dreams we sprinted after, yet they dissolved into clouds. At such times, letting go is no longer a choice but a maturation. Maturity is understanding that not every door needs to be held open, and not everyone who passes through our life needs to be held back. Strangely, when we put things down, what remains is precisely what truly belongs to us. Letting go is also a return to the present. Many people live with the mind always running into the past or racing into the future. The past is gone and cannot be changed. The future has not arrived and cannot be grasped. Only the present is the most precious gift we have. When we let go, we become quiet enough to hear a leaf fall, to watch dawn gild the surface of the lake, to feel each gentle breath leading us back to ourselves. Letting go is how we truly live, not merely exist. I know that letting go is not easy. Sometimes we have lived with a pain so long that it feels like part of who we are. Letting go can feel like tearing away a piece of ourselves, and that is frightening. But if we do not dare to let go, we will remain bound. The Buddha likened the mind to a lake. If the lake is forever churned by wind, we can never see the bottom. Only when the wind ceases and the water is still can the surface reflect the sky. Letting go is calming the wind within so we can see our original, clear nature. And then one day we realize that letting go is not losing, it is returning. Returning to serenity, to a light heart, to a smile that needs no reason. Letting go is an art of living, a gift we give ourselves. And once we learn it, we walk lighter, breathe deeper, and smile more often. Remember, letting go is not an ending, but the beginning of a new journey. When our hands are open, we can welcome more beautiful things. When the heart has laid down its burdens, there is room for love to flow in. And when the mind is at peace, we truly understand the Buddha's teaching that nothing lasts forever. Today's suffering will also pass. There are days when you feel like a leaf swept along by a rushing current. Life carries you away with no time to breathe, no time to stop and see what you have passed through. Sadness, pressure, and mounting responsibilities make you feel as if you are drowning. Yet amid all the turmoil, there is always one thing present, something that never leaves you for even a moment: the breath. With each inhalation, you receive new life. With each exhalation, you have the chance to release what is heavy. The Buddha taught that the mind is the root of all suffering and peace. The mind leads all phenomena. The mind is the master. The mind creates. If the mind is unsettled, life will be unsettled. If the mind is tranquil, everything becomes lighter. The wonderful thing is that we do not need to seek peace in some distant place. It is right within each breath we have. The ancients said, "No one can eat for us, no one can sleep for us, and no one can live for us." Each person's life is a unique journey that cannot be copied or borrowed from anyone else. You may receive advice and guidance, but the steps are still yours to take. Just as in practice, no one can breathe for you to bring peace to your heart. Only you can take hold of each breath to return to yourself. When you recognize this clearly, you realize that every breath is a door opening to a new chance to transform yourself. Imagine an early morning before the sun has fully risen, when the space around you is so quiet you can hear the wind gently touch the leaves. You sit still and feel the cool air enter your lungs and softly leave. There is no longer the noise of life, no longer the call of new day worries, only you and the breath. In that very moment, you understand that you are living not in tomorrow, not in yesterday, but in now. This moment is life. Each time you realize this, another thin mist in the mind dissolves. Some people ask how a single breath can change an entire mood or an entire life. The answer lies in awareness. When you breathe without knowing you are breathing, life is being missed. When you breathe and know clearly that you are breathing, every moment becomes precious. Breathing in, you smile to yourself. Breathing out, you release a portion of your burden. Breathing in, you know you are alive. Breathing out, you know you are healing yourself. This is not theory, it is a real experience. Through that very experience, you truly see the Buddha's teaching on mindfulness. Keep the mind in the present, know each moment clearly, and do not be swept away by what has passed or by worries about what has not yet come. A meditation master once told a story about a man lost in a forest. Panic drove him to run everywhere searching for a way out. The more he ran, the more lost he became. Exhausted, he sat beneath a tree, closed his eyes, and took deep breaths. Within minutes, his heartbeat slowed and his fear began to fade. When he opened his eyes, he noticed the path out of the forest was right nearby. Sometimes in life we are like that man. The harder we try to solve things quickly, the more we panic and the less we see the way. When we stop and return to the breath, the mind clears and the solution suddenly becomes visible. That is the power of a single mindful moment. When the breath becomes a companion, you will see that all suffering can grow lighter. This does not mean that pain disappears at once, but there is enough space to hold it, to look at it with compassion, and it gradually melts. Like holding a crying child, you do not demand that the child stop at once. You hold the child close so the child knows it is not alone. When you hold your own pain with mindful breathing, you are also telling yourself that you are here for yourself. One day you will see that the breath not only calms you, it also reveals the nature of impermanence. Each inhalation and exhalation is a cycle of beginning and ending. No breath is the same as the next, just as no moment of life repeats itself. Understanding this, you will cherish every minute of being alive instead of losing it to haste or regret. You will stop clinging to what has passed and stop fearing what has not yet come, because you know you have a place to return to. It is the breath. If one day you feel weary, remember that you do not need to wait until everything is perfect to be at peace. You only need to stop, place a hand on your chest, feel the heartbeat, and breathe deeply. You will see that you are being held by life itself. No one else brings you peace. It is you, through your own breath, who opens the door to return. The Buddha said that by oneself is evil done, by oneself one is defiled. By oneself is evil left undone, by oneself one is purified. Purity and defilement are one's own doing. This reminds us that no one but ourselves can truly free us from suffering. The breath is the first step on that path. One afternoon, as the golden light of sunset covered the rooftops, try sitting down and breathing slowly. Watch the sky change color, and you will see that everything changes, and yet in this moment you are at peace. You do not need to chase anything. You only need to be here fully with the breath. Then you will understand that every breath is an opportunity. It is a chance to return, to love yourself, to let go of what weighs you down, and to live more deeply. If you are in the darkness of pain, do not try to drive it away at once. Let your breath be a small guiding light. With each inhalation, you bring light inside. With each exhalation, you let the darkness lessen. Little by little, the darkness loses its former power. You will see that you are stronger than you thought and that you are not alone. The breath will never abandon you. It is there, patient, waiting for you to recognize its presence. There will come a time when you look back and realize that amid the many upheavals of life, the thing that carried you through was not a miracle from outside, but a return within through each breath. Once you grasp this key, you will see that every day is a gift and every breath is a blessing. The Buddha's teaching on impermanence and living in the present will no longer be distant words, but a vivid experience in each of your moments. You will see that even as life changes, you can still smile, because you have found the surest refuge. It is your own mindful breath. There are days when you feel so tired that you have no strength left to keep trying. Everything seems to break apart in your hands. Things you thought you would keep forever suddenly slip away. You ask where you went wrong. You blame yourself for not being strong enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough to hold on to what you love. In the midst of sighs and stinging eyes, you only want to let everything go. Have you ever tried sitting very still, relaxing your shoulders, and simply letting your heart breathe? You do not have to be strong, and you do not have to pretend to be fine. You only need to be honest that you are fragile, that you are sad, that you are hurt. When a rainstorm comes, you cannot make it stop at once. You can only sit quietly and listen to the sound of the rain so that it passes in its own way. The Buddha taught that no one can bathe twice in the same river. That river is always flowing, and so are the emotions in our mind. Sorrow will pass, and joy will not remain forever. All you need to do is accept that it is here right now. Acceptance does not mean giving up or abandoning all effort. Acceptance is when you no longer fight against yourself. It is when you stop forcing yourself to become someone or to achieve something in order to be worthy of love. You know, on the path of practice, some Zen masters have said, "Before enlightenment, I am still me. After enlightenment, I am still me, but I smile at myself." We often think that to be at peace, we must change ourselves completely. In truth, change begins the moment we see and accept our true self. There is a story about a woman who lived on a mountainside, gathering firewood each day and carrying it back to the village. One day, tired, she accidentally dropped her bundle down the slope. Instead of rushing after it, she sat down, sighed, and said, "The bundle has rolled away, and I am already tired. Let it be." A passerby asked, "Why don't you try to pick it up?" She did not try at once. She smiled. There are things that, when they fall, we do not need to pick up right away. Just as there are sorrows for which we do not need to force a smile to pretend we are fine. She left the bundle there, thought for a while, and then calmly went back to retrieve it. Sometimes acceptance simply means giving ourselves time, no hurry, no self-blame, no forcing. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches, when the mind does not waver before favorable or adverse conditions, there is peace. But for the mind not to waver, we must first look straight into what is happening within. Many believe that to be peaceful we must drive sadness away. In fact, peace comes from recognizing that sadness is also part of life, like a garden that holds not only flowers, but also yellow leaves and wild grass. If we want only flowers while rejecting yellow leaves, that garden will never be truly whole. Forgiving ourselves is the next step after acceptance. We often forgive others more easily than ourselves. When someone hurts us and apologizes, we may let it go. But with ourselves, we keep our mistakes like a heavy sentence. We forget that we are only human, that we have stumbled and chosen wrongly before. In the scriptures, the compassion the Buddha speaks of is not only for others, but also for ourselves. Only when we can look at ourselves with gentleness and forbearance do we truly begin the path of healing. I once heard a monk tell of a young man who blamed himself for years over a mistake. He went to the temple, knelt before the Buddha, and said he did not deserve forgiveness. The monk smiled and asked, "If a friend of yours made a mistake, would you forgive him?" The young man nodded. The monk asked again, "If you saw a child accidentally break a vase, would you scold the child?" He shook his head. The monk said softly, "Then why are you stricter with yourself than with a child?" At that, the young man burst into tears. From that day on, he practiced smiling at himself the way he had smiled at others, accepting and forgiving himself. Self-forgiveness is not finished in a day or an hour. It is an entire journey. Sometimes you will feel you have moved past it, and then one day the pain returns. That does not mean you have failed. Like the tide that recedes and then returns to shore, what matters is that this time you know better how to stand firm, how to hold your feelings instead of ignoring or banishing them. Try sitting down and taking a deep breath. Listen to the wind beyond the window frame, the leaves brushing one another, birds calling somewhere nearby. Nature simply flows through its changes without forcing anything. You can be like that too. Allow yourself to be yourself. Whether today is warm and sunny or full of wind and rain, once you accept yourself, you will realize that freedom is not when everything is perfect, but when you no longer fear whatever comes. You will walk lighter, breathe easier, and live more truthfully. Freedom begins the moment you stop fighting your own heart. And perhaps, as you sit quietly one afternoon listening to the soft patter of rain on the roof tiles, you will feel your heart soften like those raindrops. You will see that you do not need to be strong. You only need to be gentle enough to hold yourself. For as the Buddha taught, the greatest victory is the victory over oneself. And sometimes that victory begins by accepting and loving our imperfect self in this very moment. One afternoon, slanting sunlight poured across the temple steps, and a breeze stirred the Bodhi leaves as if whispering sutras. The abbot called a young monk and handed him a brimming cup of water. "Carry this around the temple 3 times, he said, "but do not spill a single drop." The young monk lifted the cup to eye level. Each step was light, each breath slow. Around him were birdsong, passing footsteps, the rustle of the wind. Children ran and laughed. The wooden fish sounded from the main hall. Yet he kept his gaze on the cup and did not let his mind run after any sight or sound. When he finished the 3rd round, the water was still full. The abbot smiled. Life is like carrying this cup. If you keep your mind steady and refuse to be dragged away by noise and scenery, you will keep your peace wherever you are. The story sounds simple, yet it holds a deep lesson. We often think peace comes only when the winds have died down, when difficulties have passed, when no one can hurt us anymore. But life is never completely quiet. Even in a tranquil temple there are bells, wooden fish, and people coming to pay respects. True peace does not lie in finding a place of absolute silence. It lies in a mind that is steady amid noise, able to keep itself amid change. The Buddha taught that suffering and unrest do not come from the outside, but from the mind's own agitation. When the mind does not tremble, we can meditate in the bustling marketplace and smile in the heart of the storm. Some people spend their whole life seeking peace by changing houses, changing jobs, avoiding people. They think that by moving away from trouble they will feel light. Yet a small incident is enough to throw their heart into turmoil again, because they have not yet touched the root of peace. Peace is not the avoidance of suffering. It is the absence of fear of suffering. Like a sailor who does not wait for the sea to be perfectly calm, but learns to row steadily even when the waves rise. The Buddha called this a fearless mind, unafraid before the tempests of life. If one day you are sitting quietly in your room and your heart still churns over things that have not happened, it is a sign you are seeking peace outside yourself. But if you can sit in a noisy cafe, in the middle of a crowd, and your heart remains as still as an autumn lake, that is when you begin to touch true peace. Mindfulness is the key that opens this door. Every step, every breath, every glance is a chance to return to yourself. As the Dhammapada says, mind at peace, speech at peace, conduct at peace, free from heedlessness. This is happiness. Try looking back over a single day. In the morning you wake with worries about work, family, and the future. You go to work and run into all kinds of frustrations. In the evening you come home hoping for quiet, yet the sounds of traffic, the television, and people talking still echo around you. If you wait for every sound to disappear before you seek peace, you will wait a lifetime. But if you accept that the world is noisy by nature and learn to keep your mind as the monk kept his cup of water, then every moment of your life can become a meditation hall. Keeping the mind steady does not mean closing the heart. On the contrary, it means opening to everything without letting anything dominate you. Like a lotus that grows in the mud without being stained by it, spreading a pure fragrance. To keep the mind steady is to smile at both joy and sorrow, knowing that both are passing guests. Peace is not a gift someone else hands to us. It is a lamp we light within. Once that lamp is lit, the winds outside only make it shimmer. They cannot blow it out. Someone once asked, "What if I've tried to keep my mind at peace and still feel restless?" The Buddha taught that, like training the body, calming the mind requires daily practice. You cannot expect someone who has never learned to swim to feel confident in the open sea. Nor can you expect someone who has never meditated to remain calm amid life's storms. Each time you notice yourself swept away by noise, anger, or fear, that is your chance to return to the breath. Every such return trains the mind to grow more solid. Gradually, you realize that peace has never been anywhere but within you. If today you are living through stormy days, remember the image of the monk carrying the cup of water. Whatever the surroundings, place your mind with that cup. That cup is your breath. It is your mindfulness. When you can keep it, all the noise recedes, and all the waves grow small. Peace is not found where there is no noise. It is found where noise no longer disturbs us. When you discover this, you see that even suffering is only a wave that rises and falls, unable to muddy the river within. There are mornings when we open our eyes to birdsong at the eaves, when the sun has not yet turned fully golden and the chill of dew still lingers. We ask ourselves how we will live today. Must we hurry as always, or can we allow ourselves to move more slowly? To live more truly with ourselves though life rushes on. We often forget that all we need is to walk with mindfulness. No need to chase anyone. No need to prove anything to the world. Like an autumn leaf that falls upon the lake, it does not strain to fly back to the branch nor compare itself with the tender new leaves. It is simply itself, gently yielding to the moment, and therein lies its perfect beauty. There is a profound point in the Buddhist teaching. Peace is not in defeating someone, surpassing someone, or proving anything. Peace comes only when we truly return to ourselves. The Buddha taught that living truly is not exposing everything, but having the courage to live according to the values of the heart, without twisting ourselves to fit others' expectations. One who can live fully with oneself, even for a single calm breath, has already found a precious jewel in this impermanent world. Many of us have grown weary of wearing masks for others' approval. We try to be funnier so people will like us, more successful to be admired, or quieter to avoid judgment. Then one day we realize we have lost the innocence of our early selves. We cannot remember the last time we smiled freely, or the last time we sat quietly listening to the wind through the leaves without thinking of anything at all. Chasing an image the world wants to see, we forget where our true self has gone. A Zen master once told a story about a woodcutter who lived deep in the forest. Each day he cut wood, drank spring water, and ate wild greens. People asked if he felt lonely living far from the city. He laughed and said that in the city people jostle for every bite and every bit of fame, often forgetting the simplest things: a good meal eaten in quiet, an evening listening to birds returning to their nests. He said living truly does not mean abandoning life. It means not letting life sweep us so far along that we forget ourselves. To live deeply is to stoop and pick up a fallen leaf, to look at its shape and color as if cradling a treasure. Only when we truly cherish the smallest things do we touch the purest part of life. A friend once told me she had lived many years in a big city, working a high-paying job, yet always tense. One day she took a week off and went home to stay with her mother. In the morning, her mother brewed her a cup of hot tea. She lifted the cup, inhaled the gentle aroma, and sipped in small tastes. She said it was the first time in years she had truly tasted tea. Before, she always drank while working, sipping as she answered emails and thought about a dozen tasks. In that moment, she understood that sometimes peace is simply sitting with a cup of tea, doing nothing at all. She learned to live truly in the moment and realized that happiness is not far away. The Buddha said that each breath is a miracle. We breathe constantly, yet rarely with awareness. Breath is bound to life. When we stop to truly feel it, we know we are alive. Living truly and living deeply begin with cherishing the breath, for only then are we truly in the present. If one day you are too tired, you can stop, close your eyes, breathe in deeply. Feel the cool air enter the body, and breathe out slowly so worries dissolve with each warm exhale. That one simple moment is enough to bring you back to yourself. We often think that living deeply means doing something grand, but in truth, it is simply placing our whole heart in what we are doing. When washing dishes, just wash the dishes. When eating, just eat. When speaking with someone, just listen without rushing to interject. That full presence is a gift we give to ourselves and to others. It is not loud or showy. yet it has the power to dissolve the empty spaces in the heart. No comparing, no proving. This means accepting where we are and walking our own path. Each person is a different flower. We cannot force ourselves to bloom on another flower's schedule. A lotus needs time and light to rise from the mud. A yellow apricot blossom needs winter's chill to open in spring. So do we. We need not be faster than anyone, only patient enough to bloom in our own way. That is the path to inner freedom. When we live authentically, our relationships become more genuine. We do not need to try to impress anyone. Sincerity shines on its own. When we live deeply, we do not miss precious moments with our loved ones. We do not glide past a mother's tender gaze, a father's calloused hands, or the clear laughter of a child. Each of these moments is a pearl of life. If we know how to cherish them, as the Dhammapada teaches, conquering oneself is greater than conquering thousands in battle. Living authentically is a way of conquering oneself, because we dare to remove the layers of pretense and see ourselves more clearly. Living deeply is a way of conquering time, because we savor each moment instead of letting it pass in unconsciousness. Then we understand that life is not too short. We have simply lived too shallowly for too long. Perhaps living authentically and living deeply is a journey without an endpoint. Each day we learn to let go of one unnecessary thing and keep one truly important thing. We let go of others' unreasonable expectations and keep the peace in our heart. We let go of comparisons that exhaust us and keep gratitude for what we have. We let go of the habit of following the crowd and keep the serene rhythm of life that our heart chooses. In this way, day by day, hour by hour, we return closer to our original purity. If today you feel lost, try something very simple. Sit down, breathe in deeply, breathe out slowly. Look around to see where you are, listen for whether the wind is singing, whether birds are returning to their nests, and whether your heart is beating gently. This is the gift of the present. Allow yourself to live authentically in this moment, to live deeply with each breath. Only by living this way can we touch the most beautiful part of life, where there is no anxiety, no comparisons, only a peaceful heart. You will realize you do not need to run fast. You only need to walk with mindfulness. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to be yourself. You do not need to look far for happiness, because it is here in a single breath, in a cup of tea, and in each moment that you truly live. I met a woman sitting quietly on the veranda, her eyes distant toward the horizon where the sunset was slowly descending. In her hand was a cup of tea gone cold, yet she did not drink it, only turned it lightly, as if searching for a warmth that had slipped away. I sat beside her in silence, listening to the wind gently touch the tiles, listening to the evening birds calling one another home. She smiled a fragile smile and whispered, "You know, for years I have lived with suffering. It did not leave me, and I could not leave it. But now I am grateful that it stayed." Her words left me pondering for a long time. Perhaps if we look deeply, suffering is also a quiet teacher that teaches us something about ourselves. People tend to run from suffering. When we are sad, we seek noisy places to forget. When we lose something, we throw ourselves into work so we will not think about it. When we are hurt, we build cold walls to shield the heart. But the Buddha taught that what we reject continues to cling to us until we learn the lesson it brings. If we drive suffering away, it is like a child left outside, knocking at the door again and again until we open our heart, invite it in, and listen to its cries. I remember reading in the Dhammapada that no one in this world escapes suffering, but the wise turn suffering into the path of awakening. This is not to urge us to cling to suffering as a treasure, but to invite us to enter it with mindfulness. Only when we face it and name it do we see its true nature. When we say to ourselves, "This is sadness, this is loss, this is hurt," we light a lamp of awareness, and from there we see that suffering is only a cloud drifting across the sky of the mind. It comes and it goes like all other clouds. A friend of mine once went through a great upheaval. She lost the person she loved most in a single morning. The shock nearly crushed her. At first, she tried to fill the empty space with work and long trips. But each night, in the quiet room, loneliness returned like a cold wind. One day, she tried something different. She sat down, turned off all the lights, and let the tears fall. She whispered to herself, "I am very sad. I miss that person so much." For the first time, she did not run. Strangely, from that day the sadness seemed to soften, not because it vanished, but because she sat with it like sitting with a long-lost friend. Suffering is like a river in flood. If we resist it, we are swept away. If we know how to swim with it and keep our breath, we will drift toward calmer waters. A wise person is not one who has never been wounded, but one who knows how to tend the wound. A wound is where the light can enter, as the sage Rumi said. When a wound appears, we come to understand deeply the fragility of life, the value of an embrace, the meaning of a sincere inquiry. The Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, and in the very first truth, he said that life is suffering. It may sound pessimistic, but it is the doorway to awakening. When we recognize the suffering nature of life, we stop fantasizing about a life without change, without loss. We accept that suffering is part of being human, and we learn to live with it as we live with rain and wind and the changing seasons. I once met an elderly Zen master. He said that in his youth he suffered deeply when a loved one passed away. He wanted to abandon everything and retreat to the deep forest to forget. But during one meditation, he realized that suffering is not an enemy, but a strict teacher. It comes to remind us that everything is impermanent, that what we love will change. Thanks to this, he learned to love more while he could and to cherish each present moment. Sometimes suffering makes us more compassionate. One who has known loss more easily empathizes with the pain of others. One who has been abandoned knows how to stay beside someone when they are lonely. One who has been hurt understands the weight of a single word of comfort. Suffering polishes the heart to become soft rather than hard and cold. It teaches us to bow our head, to listen in silence, and to extend a hand without hesitation. For suffering to become a teacher, we must learn to open to it. No judging, no pushing it away. We need to enter it with a mindful heart. Mindfulness is knowing that we are suffering. Once we know we are suffering, we have walked half the path of healing. The rest is to gently care for the soul as one tends a garden after a storm. We pick up the withered leaves and water with drops of love so that the seeds of joy have a chance to sprout again. When one day you can sit beside your sadness and smile, you will know you have traveled a long way. The pain is no longer a bleeding wound, but a tender scar that reminds you of your inner strength. That scar does not make you weaker. It makes you deeper and steadier, like a tree that has stood firm through many seasons of storms. Trust that no pain is meaningless. Each pain carries a lesson that we recognize only when we are brave enough to face it. Once we recognize it, we will feel gratitude towards suffering, as toward a strict teacher who has guided us to maturity. One early morning, when you step outside and see drops of dew glittering on the leaves, remember that they are traces of the night just past. Suffering is the same. It leaves in our heart a clear drop of dew that reflects the sunlight when dawn arrives. Suffering is not an end point, but a bridge that carries us to the farther shore, where the heart opens and the soul finds its original peace again. And one day you will smile sincerely and say, "Thank you, suffering, because through you I learned what love truly is." On some mornings, when sunlight gently slips through the crack of the door, have you noticed the birds singing outside? Or have you hurried to turn on your phone, read the news, and plunge straight into the whirl of work and responsibilities? We have grown so used to haste that we slowly forget the feeling of a deep breath, a quiet moment in the midst of life. The Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent. Happiness does not lie in running faster than others, but in our capacity to live fully in each minute. Living slowly is not being late. It is knowing how to pause to see what truly matters to us. I remember once returning to my hometown and, at dawn, sitting on the veranda of the old house, watching dew sparkle on banana leaves. Tiny though they were, each drop held an entire crystal sky. They last only until the sun rises, then disappear. Our life is like that. Much of what we chase today will also vanish like those drops of dew. Only when we slow down are we calm enough to recognize which drops are worth cherishing and which things pass through our life like a breeze. Each person has a unique journey. No one is the same, and no two paths are identical. Yet we constantly compare. Seeing others more successful, wealthier, happier, our heart stirs and we feel small. But think, if the rose kept looking at the chrysanthemum to compare, and the chrysanthemum looked at the sunflower to grieve, How could any of them bloom into their own beauty? The Buddha taught that the root of suffering is clinging to I and mine, and the craving that has no end. When we look at life through the lens of comparison, we bind ourselves into a vicious circle without exit. A Zen story tells of a young novice who kept envying his brother disciple for being praised by the master. He wanted to be better, more favored. One day the teacher gave him a seed and said, "Plant this and tend it well." He planted and watered it, but his mind still chased the thought of surpassing his brother. One day he saw that his plant was not growing as he wished and ran to complain. The master smiled and said, "Every seed has its own time and way of blossoming. If you keep looking at someone else's plant to compare, you will forget to water your own." So it is with our life. Each of us is a seed, and living slowly is giving ourselves enough time to bloom in our own way. Living slowly does not mean stopping. It means moving to the rhythm of the heart. We listen to our breath and to the voice within to know what we truly need and want. When you run too fast, you can no longer hear your own heart, and then you will get lost. There are pains we can face only when we live slowly. We do not skip over them or force ourselves to forget. We look at them gently to learn their lessons. Like walking in a deep forest, if you rush ahead, you will miss the small wildflowers by the path. Slow your steps, and you will see blossoms right at your feet. People often think transformation means forgetting all old pain, but in truth, transformation is turning pain into light. The Buddha endured profound suffering, losing his mother as a child, witnessing the birth, aging, sickness, and death of human life. He did not forget these truths. He used them to discover the path of liberation. We can do the same. What once hurt us, if looked into deeply, becomes a lamp to guide our way. When we live slowly, we have the chance to see that light. A woman once confided that years earlier she lost her child in an accident, and the grief made her not want to live. Each day she buried herself and worked to forget, but the more she tried to forget, the more it hurt. Until one day, she heard a monk teach about impermanence. She began to live slowly, walking very slowly in the garden, watching each falling leaf. She did not force herself to forget her child. She let the child's image become part of her prayer. Each day, she said, when a flower opens, she thinks of it as her child smiling at her. The pain remained, but it softened. When we live slowly, we see that life is not only destinations, but also steps. Every step is a lesson, some light, some heavy, but all leading us back to ourselves. Living slowly helps us pause before a hasty word wounds someone. Pause before a rash decision leads to regret. Pause to hear the sigh of someone we love. Sometimes living slowly is taking a deep breath before answering a hard question. It is taking time to sit with a hot cup of tea just to inhale its fragrance and feel the warmth seep into our hands. It is sitting under an old tree, listening to the rustle of leaves like the gentle sutras of earth and sky. When you slow down, you will see that time is not an enemy, but a friend who helps you understand yourself more deeply. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha teaches mindfulness as knowing clearly what we are doing, breathing, walking, eating, speaking. Living slowly is the practice of mindfulness. When eating, know you are eating. When walking, know you are walking. When in pain, know you are in pain. Do not run away. Do not force yourself to forget. Simply look and smile at the truth. Then something wondrous happens. Pain grows less sharp, and happiness becomes deeper. If one day you feel weary, try slowing down. Do not fear being left behind. Remember, life is not a race. No one awards medals to the first to arrive. Happiness is given to the one who savors each step. Live slowly to hear a child's laughter ringing out in the late afternoon. Live slowly to hear rain on the eaves. Live slowly to realize that today's suffering will also pass, just as the rain will stop and the sky will be blue again. So if you are suffering now, give yourself permission to live slowly. You do not have to hurry to forget or pretend to be strong. Just sit quietly and breathe. Look at your pain with gentle eyes. One day you will realize that precisely by living slowly, you have truly lived authentically. And living authentically is the greatest gift you can give yourself. There are afternoons when we stand by the veranda and watch the rain fall fine as silk. Each raindrop touches the ground and disappears, leaving no clear shape. Yet these very drops nourish the grass and trees, freshen the air, and wash away the day's dust. A human life is like those raindrops, coming and going in the cycle of causes and conditions. Only when we truly understand this can we choose a light life, no longer burdened by what can never be held forever. Many people still think impermanence is a tragedy. They fear loss, fear change, fear that the familiar might suddenly vanish one day. But the Buddha taught that impermanence itself is the doorway to real life. If nothing ever changed, we would never have the chance to renew ourselves, nor would we learn to cherish the moments we have. Like a lotus, without days in the mud, it could never rise and open in the sunlight. Impermanence does not take everything away. It only removes the worn-out shell so we can begin again with a clearer heart. A woman once shared that she had spent half her life chasing material dreams, clinging to what she believed was happiness. Then upheaval came. Wealth disappeared. Her family fractured. In those dark months, she sat alone by a river, watching the current. She saw that water never competes, never clings to anything. It flows gently yet steadfastly, passing over rocks, slipping through crevices, bending around obstacles. Water bears no resentment, offers no resistance, and yet it can wear down the hardest stone. From that day, she chose to live like water, gentle but not weak, letting go without giving up. Each step of returning is a beginning. Returning to yourself, listening to the breath, listening to the heartbeat. You realize you do not need to carry so many burdens on your shoulders. Yesterday's suffering and tomorrow's worries lose their power when you live fully in this moment. The present is a gift, and it has value only when you open your heart to receive it. The ancients said, "The wind cannot keep the clouds, but it can see them off to another sky." So too with us. We cannot keep people, events, or circumstances forever, but we can let them go with gratitude and love. And when one door closes, another window opens. This is not mere comfort. It is the truth of life. Every ending is soil where a new shoot can sprout. Choosing a light life does not mean abandoning the world, nor does it mean leaving everything to fate. It is a conscious choice, like a helmsman who knows how to steer. A boat in the current neither fights the water nor lets itself be swept away. Live this way, we keep a peaceful heart and treasure each moment, without wasting time on what does not truly matter. If one day you feel weary, sit beside a river or beneath the shade of a tree. Let the breeze touch your cheek. Let the rustling leaves lull your restless thoughts. Tell yourself you do not need to carry everything. You only need to slow your steps, slow your life, enough to hear life's gentle call. Then you will see that gentleness is also a strength, for it helps you pass through every storm without being pulled into the whirlpool of suffering. When the heart is freed from its burdens, life looks brighter and more beautiful. You will smile at a flower blooming by the road. Thank a ray of sunlight crossing the window. Cherish a loving glance even in passing. These small things are the true material of happiness. And once you understand this, you will stop searching for happiness far away and discover it has always been present in each breath. Dear friend, whatever your circumstances today, trust that nothing lasts forever. Today's pain will pass. Tomorrow's joy will come. What matters is to keep your heart like water, pure, soft, yet steadfast, able to hold all change without losing itself. Choose a gentle life, so each day is worth living, a day to love, a day to rest in the peace you create for yourself. Some afternoons, when the sun has softened and the sky takes on a pale gold, I sit quietly on the veranda and watch the last rays touch the earth. In that moment, I realize that light is like my life. However radiant, it too will fade. But that does not make it useless. Even a small beam can illuminate a dark corner and warm a heart that has grown cold. So it is with each of our lives. We need not become a blazing sun, nor force the world to turn and look. It is enough to be a small candle quietly shining with sincerity. The light of a single candle, humble as it is, can be shared and multiplied, and darkness cannot reign forever. I once thought I had to be exceptionally capable, strong, and deserving in order to be loved. But after the days of exhaustion, when my heart was nearly spent, I understood we deserve love even when we are weak. Like a wildflower by the road, planted by no one and tended by no one, still lifted by the wind and watered by the rain. True love does not arise from perfection, but from authenticity. The Buddha taught, "Be an island unto yourself. Rely on yourself." This teaching reminds us that before hoping others will understand and love us, we must first learn to befriend ourselves. When we sit down and listen to the voice deep within, we find the child in us still longing to be held and soothed. We recognize that all this time we have chased love everywhere, forgetting that we ourselves can offer the most complete love to our own heart. When we know how to love ourselves, we no longer blame ourselves for our scars, nor feel ashamed of our stumbles. We gently tell ourselves, "It's all right, this too will pass." And the miracle is that once we are gentle with ourselves, we become gentler with the world. We no longer judge others, because we know everyone carries untold stories. We no longer crave victory, because we know peace is more precious than any win or loss. I once heard a Zen story about an old monk and a young student. The student asked, "Master, the world holds so much suffering. How can I live without being swept away by it?" The monk smiled, picked up a candle, and said, "Light this and carry it into the dark night." The student did so, and although the surroundings were still dark, wherever the candle shone, darkness could not remain. The monk said softly, "You cannot banish all the world's darkness, but you can keep the flame within you from going out. And if someone comes near, they will receive your light." So it is with us. We cannot erase all of life's suffering, but we can keep a small flame alive in our heart. That flame might be a kind word, an act of empathy, a smile offered even in fatigue. When we give such things, something strange returns to us. We find ourselves being healed as well. I know there are days when the darkness inside feels too thick. You lose faith. You lack the strength to love anyone, even yourself. But do not forget, even a candle nearing its end, if shielded from the wind, can flare bright one more time. You do not need to blaze right now. You only need not to go out. One day, you will feel the warmth of the light in your hands again. The Buddha taught that everything in life is impermanent. Suffering is the same. It comes and then goes, like rain that eventually stops, like a storm that eventually fades. Today you may be immersed in loss, but tomorrow your heart will find a way to bloom again. Be patient with yourself. Believe that beneath the cold winter soil, seeds are quietly waiting for the day they will rise to greet the sun. When you befriend yourself, loneliness softens. You will realize you do not need to run far to seek the light, because there is already a small candle within you. That candle never abandons you. At times you worry so much that you forget to see it. Give yourself quiet moments to return. Sit still, breathe in deeply, breathe out slowly, and listen to your heartbeat. You will see that no matter how life changes, there is a part of you that has never been wounded and has never been lost. People often want to become something grand in order to change the world. But in truth, this world changes through small things. One person willing to listen, one person willing to forgive, one person willing to smile, one small candle. We cannot know how far our light will reach, but if we let it shine, it will surely touch someone. And when that light is passed on, the world becomes a little less dark. You may not be able to help everyone, but you can help someone feel less lonely. You cannot erase all sorrow, but you can make someone smile for a moment. Sometimes that alone is enough to make life warmer. Therefore, please do not compare your light with anyone else's. A candle does not need to shine brighter than another to have value. Its value lies in its willingness to burn, even if only to illuminate a moment or a short stretch of the path. You are the same. You do not need to be perfect or dazzling. As long as you live with sincerity, your light will naturally radiate, and those who need it will find you. When you look back, you will see that the wounds that once seemed to bring you to your knees are now the places where light slips in. Because of those sufferings, you have learned to cherish peace. Because of each weariness, you have learned to be gentler. And then you will smile and realize that, just as the Buddha taught, nothing lasts forever, not even today's sorrow. Let your heart be like a small candle. Not showy, not noisy, yet bright enough to warm yourself and someone who has lost their way. Believe that your light is unique and cannot be replaced. And one day, when someone sees you, they will know that because of you they have found faith again, even just a little, in the beauty of this life. Finally, I want you to remember that you deserve to be loved even when you have done nothing to be considered worthy by someone's standards. You deserve to be loved even when you are tired and vulnerable. Love yourself as you would cradle a small candle in the night. When you do, you will see that the light within you has never gone out and never will. And one day, when you look back on the path you have traveled, you will see that all the pains that once felt unbearable are now only faint streaks of light in your memory. They have passed, and they have left you with something priceless. The growth of the soul and the belief that nothing is forever, not even today's suffering. The following are the Buddha's teachings on the relationship between teacher and student. A student who comes to a teacher must pay close attention, listen, and receive the teacher's instruction. When we clearly understand the teacher's heartfelt teachings, our thoughts, words, and actions will express good conduct and beautiful living through the teacher-student relationship. Both Buddhist doctrine and human ethics praise the bond between teacher and student through gratitude so that we form our character in life. Each person exists in this life thanks to being born and raised by parents. Yet to grow up, mature, and integrate into society so that we can contribute to one another is thanks to the nurturing of teachers. Therefore, the duty of a student is always to be mindful of respect and reverence for the teacher, which people often call honoring the teacher and respecting the way. First, train students in the virtues one possesses. Second, instruct students to preserve and remember what is necessary. Third, teach students to master their craft to the point of proficiency. Fourth, commend students before friends and acquaintances. Fifth, ensure the student's livelihood in every respect. Among the relationships in life, the relationship of teacher to student plays an important role. It opens knowledge and understanding and raises awareness so that one lives with character and ethics toward others. Therefore, the teacher becomes a model in the world, a bright example for students to learn from and apply in daily life. In the scriptures, the Buddha teaches about conduct between teacher and student through 5 ways of honoring and serving the teacher. What are the 5? 1. Offer words respectfully and skillfully. 2. Skillfully care for, assist, and attend to the teacher whenever necessary. 3. Be eager and enthusiastic. 4. Be proficient in one's craft. 5. Frequently honor and revere the teacher. Conversely, the teacher also cares for disciples in 5 ways. What are the 5? 1. Teach them to master their craft. 2. Teach with zeal. 3. Teach all that one knows. 4. Guide students toward what is wholesome. 5. Entrust them to good and wise mentors. The Buddha pointed out 5 basic duties of a student toward the teacher, clearly expressing the spirit of honoring the teacher and respecting the way. In today's age of material civilization, the affection between teacher and student often lacks closeness. There is quite a distance between teacher and student, not as intimate and close as in the past. As society develops and the needs of life increase, there is less time for teachers and students to bond closely due to busy work. The relationship between teacher and student in spiritual traditions can also be loose and less connected than in former times. As a result, students can easily become weak in moral character because they are less close to the teacher's valuable instruction. Therefore, there needs to be opportunities for teachers and students to sit together and share experience, to untangle lingering difficulties, and to learn how to perfect themselves. When a student comes into contact with a teacher, the first task is to learn the teachings of right conduct, to develop deep faith in cause and effect, and to gain clearer understanding in every area of life. Conveying knowledge and moral principles to the next generation is the teacher's responsibility. A teacher must guide disciples towards stable careers and help them live with right understanding so they become useful to their families and to society. Most importantly, the teacher must clearly know each student's abilities in order to teach appropriately. For that reason, every thought, word, and action of the teacher is a practical lesson in teaching by example, helping students easily continue the teacher's work, virtue, and wisdom. Students who come to a teacher need to pay close attention and receive the instruction given. When we clearly understand the teacher's heartfelt teachings, our thoughts, words, and actions will embody living well in both the Dharma and the world through the teacher-student relationship. However, we must be diligent and enthusiastic in our studies. No matter how difficult things become, We should be determined to study to completion and not give up halfway. When we have become accomplished, we must respect and revere the teacher wholeheartedly. In earlier times, teachers were ranked even above parents. If a person does not honor the teacher in any form, that student has not fulfilled their duty. A teacher with heart and responsibility, after training students to proficiency, should introduce good positions and help expand or develop new establishments. This gives students the opportunity to repay kindness by dedicating themselves and contributing so that the work of cultivating people is complete in every respect. Especially when discovering a student's talent, the teacher should send the student to good and wise mentors for further learning so that they are trained into virtuous and capable people. In this way, the teacher fulfills the responsibility of educating others, with merit and virtue complete. In reality, the role and responsibility of teachers in the secular world are already difficult. Being a spiritual exemplar is even more demanding because one must go against the current without withdrawing from life. From the way one walks and stands to speech, communication, and conduct, a teacher must always show serenity and freedom, serving as a refuge for learners who follow. In truth, the aspiration of ethical and upright teachers is always to help students quickly master their craft without withholding knowledge, striving to transmit everything to their disciples so that the teacher-student bond remains affectionate and pure, and so that good fruits arise for the benefit of life. This requires that both the teacher's intention and the learner's attitude be grounded in genuine love and kindness. A student's success is a great encouragement to the teacher. The teacher will know how to praise at the right time in order to motivate and console the student in reaching noble goals. It is the teacher's duty to guide learners so that, after becoming proficient in their specialty, they are conscious of advancing to become experts in the field in which they were trained. High specialization creates stability and long-term development in one's career. The student's relationship to the teacher includes the following. First, greet the teacher when the teacher arrives. Second, attend to and care for the teacher. Third, study with eagerness under the teacher. Fourth, offer one's own help to the teacher. Fifth, develop and refine the craft that the teacher has transmitted. Showing respect when meeting and greeting the teacher is the mark of a student who honors the teacher at all times and in all places. The principle of, when drinking water, remember the source, always reminds us to repay kindness and express gratitude. The teacher should leave a strong imprint in the student's mind in every respect, and in return the student should revere the teacher as much as possible. Thanks to this, we can absorb all of the teacher's instruction and know how to apply it in life. Next, caring for the teacher is a sacred responsibility expressed through honoring the teacher and respecting the way. Serving and attending the teacher whenever necessary becomes a voluntary task of the student. In short, among life's relationships, the teacher-student relationship is intimate and close-knit. It transmits ethical values and helps families, loved ones, and society secure well-being that is good, sustainable, and lasting. The teacher's kindness helps us broaden our knowledge. Teachers teach us to read and write, to live kindly, to follow proper human ethics, and to understand what is good and right, so that we become good people who are useful to society. Hence the proverb, without a teacher you cannot succeed. Teachers not only help us understand, they also teach us to examine, reflect, and contemplate, so that wisdom arises and we can see and know the truth of the matters of life. Because teachers continually encourage, remind, and instruct us, we are motivated and comforted in both sadness and joy, helped to overcome obstacles and adversity, and enabled to renew ourselves with a loving and understanding heart. We should pause when we are tired in order to regain balance in life. At times, people feel exhausted and powerless in the face of life's challenges. Troubles at work or failure in marriage, as well as pressure from society, can make us discouraged and unbalanced. Life appears bleak, and we seem to collapse and no longer wish to go on. But remember that life is not always rosy. What is important is that we ourselves find solutions and practical ways to live when we feel tired and discouraged. If your heart is weary, try looking at life from another direction. Life is not a dream, and many things will certainly fail to go our way. Do not give up or despair. Turn the viewpoint to a different angle. Put on a smile, let life feel lighter, and strive to get through it all. We must be truly strong so that weariness does not find us, and we must not allow exhaustion to stand in our way. No effort is insignificant, and all are worthy of respect, especially the effort to overcome fatigue, discouragement, and disappointment in order to begin again. When your heart feels tired, take a short rest and think carefully. Life is like this, and it certainly cannot always satisfy everyone, including ourselves. Even so, we must still try to live with determination. A human life contains many things worth cherishing. Do not grow disheartened and give up everything because of a few dissatisfactions. Life is simple, and when the heart is calm, we find serenity. Help often arrives unexpectedly at a time when it seems there is no breath of wind to breathe or a ray of sun to warm us. These are rays of hope reserved for each person's persistent effort. Not every new choice will be right, yet new choices surely bring us support in faith as well as motivation and spirit. Each of us will feel the heart blossom again, and we will always have loved ones by our side. We can absolutely open our hearts to them and ask for the help we need. They will surely listen. Even if they cannot help, if they attentively listen as we open our hearts, we will know that in this world we are not alone. What needs to be attained, do not pass by. What should be set down, do not hold on to. Caring too much cuts life's joys in half, while taking things more lightly lets them return to normal. Attachment and clinging are a kind of burden. We have not gone far enough to reach our own land, to see fragrant flowers and sweet fruits, the results of the effort we have put in. If each of us expects an immediate result, we will surely never get it. At times we are ready to give up without knowing that if we just go a little farther, many good things are waiting for us ahead. Accept difficulties and failures in life. One cause that makes people feel discouraged, lose excitement, and lose balance is the difficulties or failures in work and life. If we keep dwelling on those failures, we will never escape the pressure and will only make ourselves feel heavier. Instead, learn the lesson for yourself and then accept everything. What has passed, let it pass, and strive for the good things to come. We will feel lighter and find it easier to breathe in this life filled with challenges. Learn to simplify everything. Life is already complicated enough, so there is no need to make things more serious. If you can do something to simplify it, do it. If not, let things unfold naturally. Sometimes matters are not as serious as we think. It is only complicated thoughts that make us worry. Learn to think simply, do what you truly want, and enjoy life. All of us are stronger than we think. That is certainly an undeniable truth. Somewhere there will always be more than one kind of love we can give, a ray of hope we can wait for, and a passion we have not yet fully explored. At times we must know how to stop when we are truly too tired, so we can keep our balance in the present. Everyone wants to be wealthy and admired, to possess money to satisfy personal preferences. But have you ever asked yourself whether you can accept being poor before thinking of being rich? There is a saying in life that to become rich you must accept poverty for a period of time. In reality, few people dare to sacrifice short-term pleasures for the goal of becoming wealthy. Are you willing to skip a delicious meal or stop buying new shoes, a new bag, or cosmetics, and save that money instead? Recently, I heard a story about a very famous YouTuber known for her knowledge of luxury brands and the expensive designer collection she owns. She had worked with renowned fashion houses such as H&M, Chanel, and MCM. People only knew about that lavish life until she recently shared for the first time about the period studying abroad when she had to take on difficult jobs such as babysitting, waiting tables, and cashiering, and even doing dumpster diving, which she considered the most terrible job she ever did, in order to make ends meet while overseas. Look at us. We often start complaining as soon as we face a bit of hardship. Many people want to escape poverty and get rich quickly, so they fall into traps laid out in advance. By the time they realize it, it is too late because they are drowning in debt. Some even have to hide from home and neighbors to avoid creditors. The day you are wealthy and successful will not be far off. Therefore, get used to the current hard life first. Do you know there is only one Warren Buffett in this world? He could read financial reports when he was a child and began investing at the age of 11. But he did not earn his first $1 million until he was 30. He earned most of his returns after the age of 52. Yet many young people in their 20s declare they will make their first million by shouting slogans in the street, without knowing their own limits. Therefore, no matter how old you are, it is never too late to learn how to make money, manage finances, save, and build wealth for the future. You will certainly face many difficulties in building a solid financial foundation now. Remember that the way you spend and invest in your 20s and 30s will determine your level of success and wealth later on. Everyone wants to sleep in a little longer to feel comfortable. During that time, however, other people are working and developing themselves. That is why they can earn more money, while you cannot. If you only want an easy life, it will be hard to become rich. Accept a bit of hardship now so you can hope for a bright future. If you want comfort, you must accept hardship. There is a saying in life that if you want lifelong ease, you must accept hardship for a period of time. This means that to enjoy a comfortable life later, right now we need to accept a bit of hardship. You can only feel complete happiness after you have experienced the pain of failure in love. The one who once hurt you by abandoning you is there to teach you to return to loving yourself, so that you cherish the sincere feelings others give you. We can apply the idea that comfort requires hardship during a pandemic, so we learn to get used to the hardship we are experiencing. After this period, we can hope for a better life in the future. Instead of complaining about how boring it is to stay at home, use this time to ask what is making you uncomfortable, so it can teach you patience and help you learn to let go of your illusory ego. It is true that when a pandemic occurs, life seems more miserable because we cannot freely do what we like, eat where we want, or meet the people we need to see. A prolonged pandemic is when we practice living with hardship in order to protect the health and safety of ourselves and our families. It is not easy to eat what we like. Restraining most personal preferences makes us extremely uncomfortable. Eating the same food from the refrigerator gets boring. Not meeting anyone makes us upset. Yet we are still much better off than many freelancers who have been unemployed for 2 or 3 months and do not have enough to eat or drink. So let us accept less tasty food and being confined at home for a few months, and remember that we will not die from it. Being able to get by during this time is already very good. Therefore, do not run out into the streets now just because of personal preferences. It is very dangerous. According to Buddhism, enduring a little hardship in this world is good. It helps exhaust negative karma, which is better than indulging in greed that leads to anger and conflict with others. If you want leisure later, you must be busy first. To have plenty of free time in old age, you must be busy in your youth earning money and saving to secure your future. If you do not work hard and accept hardship when you are young, do not ask why. In old age, you still have to scrape together every penny just to get through the day. That is an extremely difficult situation that no one wants to imagine. Hence the saying, if you want to have more time, you must accept being busier than others for a period of time. Therefore, while we are young and our health is resilient, do not hesitate to devote your labor and intellect to your work. Sometimes work is stressful. You may have to stay up late, and if your boss scolds you a little for making a mistake, do not let that discourage you. As long as you still have the opportunity to earn money, being a little busy is worthwhile. No matter what, you must keep learning, work diligently, and save money to secure your future. If work and life are busy, then turning down some gatherings and outings with friends to focus on your career is sometimes necessary. If you do not sacrifice the present, what will you have for your future, right? Moreover, did you know that to live a long life, you should make your days lively, keeping your hands busy with one thing after another throughout the day? Because the truth is that being busy helps you live longer. Science has shown that older people who live busy lives are more clear-minded and agile than those who are too idle. They tend to have better cognitive abilities, can process information more quickly, and have better memory and reasoning. Like Soyndon or Donald Trump still running for US president at the age of grandfathers whom we might tell to go to bed, and yet everyone has to admire their wisdom and extraordinary intellect. What is karma? In Sino-Vietnamese, Nan means seed and Qua means fruit. Here we should understand karma as action and the result of action. For ease of understanding, let us give an example. If we plant an orange seed in the ground, it grows into an orange tree, and the tree produces sweet fruit. That is the cause and the fruit of the orange tree. If we plant a lemon seed, it grows into a lemon tree that bears sour lemons. That is the cause and fruit of the lemon tree. The example above shows that whatever the seed, such is the fruit. An orange seed will yield sweet oranges. A lemon seed will yield sour lemons. our actions are the same. If our action is evil, the evil cause, then we will have to bear the painful result, as mentioned above. Conversely, wholesome actions bring us happiness and peace. To clarify the law of cause and effect, let us repeat. If we do an evil deed, the result will bring not only to us but also to many others suffering, sadness, anger, hatred, resentment, and it will create many wrongdoings, and so on. If we do a good deed, the result will bring not only to us but also to many others peace and happiness. Because the actions we perform are our own, we must take responsibility for them, and so it is called a law. There is no creator, no jade emperor, nor any person who made this law of karma to force us to comply. The law of karma has no enforcers to arrest, punish, or imprison anyone. Yet it judges very fairly and metes out justice through the court of each person's conscience. Therefore, the law of karma is very fair and does not favor anyone. Whoever does evil will reap suffering when conditions ripen. This law of karma cannot be enforced by anyone else. Only our own suffering and peace can compel us to follow it. Everyone wants to live in happiness and peace. Hardly anyone wants to live in suffering. For that reason, we ourselves compel ourselves to do good and live virtuously so we can live in happiness and peace. Thus we see that people fear suffering and prefer happiness. If, on the contrary, we do not do good and do not live virtuously, then happiness and peace will not be achieved, and therefore we must live in suffering. It is a law that no one has the right to enforce or punish you with, yet you must bear the very fair and upright consequences of that law. As we said above, the law of karma is a rule established according to the natural operation of the universe to balance the order and safety of the planets in space. Therefore, the law of karma is a universal law set forth to balance the order of all things in the universe. What is karma? An official asked, "Venerable teacher, what is karma? Please kindly teach us so we may know." Answer: Karma is a Sino-Vietnamese term. Nan means seed and qua means fruit. Together they form Nan Qua. Its literal meaning is seed and fruit. Whatever the seed, such is the fruit. It cannot yield a different fruit. For example, when an orange seed is planted and grows into a tree, it yields oranges. A lemon seed yields lemons. An orange seed cannot produce lemons, and a lemon seed cannot produce oranges. The figurative meaning concerns actions, wholesome or unwholesome. Wholesome actions bring the blessing of peace and happiness. Unwholesome actions bring suffering. That is, every action will reap its own consequence. For example, the act of stealing reaps the consequence of theft, being arrested and imprisoned, or being caught and beaten by the victim, and sometimes even being killed. The consequences of greed and theft are not only poverty and hunger in this present life, but can extend into future lives. Therefore, the karma of greed brings people extreme poverty and misfortune. As human beings, we must avoid sowing the karma of stealing and robbing others. By not coveting or stealing others' belongings, our lives will be well provided for. The more we sow the karma of greed and theft, the more wretched our lives will become through countless lifetimes. Those who do evil by killing living beings and eating their flesh will suffer calamities, illnesses, pain, and disasters, or will be killed by others in one way or another, and so on. Wholesome actions bring blessings such as sufficient food and clothing, and a life that meets with much good fortune. At home, there is harmony and joy. Children are filial and heed their parents' teachings. Unwholesome actions bring suffering such as illness and accidents. The household is often quarrelsome, discordant, and unsettled. Children disobey their parents, skip school to go out, even steal money from their parents, causing the family and others to suffer. The law of karma is very fair and just. No one can bribe it with money to be free from suffering. No matter how much power or wealth one has, the law of karma is still fair and impartial. Therefore, those who sow evil causes cannot pray to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or the Jade Emperor, and even omnipotent saints cannot save them. Thus matters of praying for safety, for deliverance of the dead, or for bestowed blessings never come to pass. They are only deceptions that defraud others, bringing no benefit and squandering wealth to no one's advantage. Before studying and cultivating the ethics of loving oneself, that is, humanistic ethics and the human law of cause and effect, we must also understand the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect is a rule established according to the natural operation of the universe in order to balance order and ensure the safety of the planets in space. If there were no karmic law to regulate order, the planets would be thrown into chaos and all living things on them would be destroyed. The law of karma is not decreed by humans or by any creator deity. It arises from the way formations operate in accordance with the diluted, natural movement inherent in the nature of all phenomena. From the moment formations began to move in the universe, new conditions were created. These new conditions combine with other conditions to give rise to still other conditions, and so on, continuing without end. This ongoing movement is the very source from which all things arise. There is no creator. As noted above, this operation is the arising and passing away of all things in the universe. When a form appears, the operation continues and creates a living environment. Whatever living beings are suited to that environment will appear. Only when a living environment suitable for human beings formed did humans appear. Once humans appeared, they were able to distinguish actions into two kinds. The first is wholesome action and the second is unwholesome action. Early humans knew only wholesome and unwholesome causes and effects, but had not yet discerned what in the law of karma was right and what was wrong. As a result, humanistic ethics based on karma turned into a fatalistic doctrine of the ancients. Only when Shakyamuni Buddha appeared, more than 2,505 years ago counting from his birth until now, did he delineate what in the law of karma is right and what is wrong. From that time on, his teachings made humanistic karmic ethics a truth for humankind. If our body, speech, and mind act wholesomely, these activities bring warmth, stability, peace, and happiness to our own lives and to all living beings on this planet. This is called wholesome causes. If our body, speech, and mind act unwholesomely, these activities bring injustice, insecurity, and suffering to our lives and to all beings. This is called unwholesome causes. Now we understand wholesome and unwholesome causes through the actions of body, speech, and mind, along with karmic retribution and the law of karma. Every religion has its own way of reasoning about karma, and the content is not the same. There are different conceptions of karmic retribution, and in fact the differences can be quite large. Buddhism regards karmic retribution with a full and penetrating view. The theoretical content of cause and effect in the Dharma is vast. The topic of karmic retribution discusses the most essential issues of cause and effect, yet it is only a tiny drop in Buddhism's immense ocean of karmic law. Put simply, karmic retribution means that doing good brings good results, while doing evil brings evil results. The law of karma is the method, the rules, and the fixed principles governing karmic retribution. More specifically, unwholesome behaviors are primarily the 10 unwholesome actions and the 5 heinous offenses. Every bad deed receives a corresponding bad result. Moreover, based on whether the evil deeds are grave or light, the retributions differ. After death, those who certainly commit the 10 unwholesome actions must suffer in hells. If their evils are lighter, after death they are reborn among hungry ghosts to undergo suffering. If lighter still, they suffer among the animal realms. After exhausting all the suffering in these paths, they are reborn as human beings and continue to experience the following retributions. First, killing results in such retributions as many illnesses and disabilities, premature death, many disasters, and family separation. Directly or indirectly harming, beating, mistreating, or injuring people or animals all fall under killing and bear the retributions above. Second, stealing results in poverty and in one's property being taken by others. Whenever we take or appropriate someone else's property or belongings without their consent, it is stealing. Third, sexual misconduct results in meeting spouses who are harsh and unfaithful, having one's spouse or children violated by others, and relatives lacking kindness. All wrongful sexual relations and all actions connected with lust fall under sexual misconduct. Fourth, false speech. The retribution is being slandered and despised. Speaking what is not true, bearing false witness, and speaking without consideration all constitute the offense of lying. Fifth, seductive or embellished speech. The retribution is that whatever one says others neither believe nor accept. Speech is unclear and expression is not understood. Lewd words and talk that arouse sexual thoughts in listeners are called seductive speech. Sixth, divisive speech. The retribution is relatives and associates becoming estranged, families turning hostile. Sowing discord and causing division are all the offense of divisive speech. Seventh, harsh speech. The retribution is being frequently cursed by others and encountering many lawsuits and disputes. Using cruel and vicious words to revile others belongs to harsh speech. Eighth, greed. The retribution is a mind that never knows contentment and cravings that never end. Craving enjoyment in wealth, beauty, fame, and gain, becoming engrossed without any intention to let go, all belong to greed. Ninth, anger. The retribution is being often criticized and harassed by others, leading to afflictions or being harmed. Meeting displeasing circumstances, one immediately erupts in rage and resentment. This is anger. 10th, doubt. The retribution is to be born into families holding wrong views, to be born in remote places lacking law and civilization, to have a flattering and crooked mind full of schemes, and to admire those who flatter. Doubt here refers to those who hold distorted views and do not believe in cause and effect. The Buddha taught that by contemplating human life and the times through 7 words representing 7 great kinds of wisdom, we see that life is a sea of suffering. Human life in this world is only temporary. Only by passing through hardship, knowing how to let go, and practicing goodness can we truly cherish this life. Listen to the Buddha's teachings about life and about the greatest values of wisdom in 7 words, so that we may be deeply moved and live a serene life. First is suffering. Heaven does not forsake the sincere. As the Buddha taught, life has many facets. The hardest thing to speak of is suffering, and the hardest thing to endure is also suffering. People in this world rarely have everything as they wish. To wander through the dusty realm, we must temper ourselves. Who has not stepped out of suffering? Who could dare say they have never known pain? People often suffer for a time, yet they do not suffer for an entire lifetime. Face it frankly, and in the end, suffering will ripen into happiness. Do not deliberately create or exaggerate suffering. The sea of suffering is boundless. Turn back, and there is the shore. Otherwise, life becomes mere grinding drudgery. Do not treat suffering as something to indulge in or take as pleasure. Within suffering there is already the seed of joy. A human life always contains both joy and pain. Second is forbearance. There is a blade hidden in the character for patience. Learning a single principle can give rise to hundreds of blessings and thousands of good fortunes. Only those who carry great aspirations truly know how to endure. Let go of petty disputes before your eyes and quietly strive toward your goal. Only those with long vision can practice forbearance. They delight in the beautiful stars in the sky and so can tolerate mosquito bites and ant stings. Forbearance is not weakness and it is not uselessness. It is strength, thought, compassion, wisdom, and an art. Endure for a moment, and the sky and sea grow calm. Step back once, and the sea is vast, and the sky wide. Forbearance turns blades into silk and jade. Meet again with a smile, and old enmities vanish. Forbearance makes great matters small, and small matters nothing at all. When the heart holds no burdens, and the mind carries no pressure, food tastes good, and sleep is peaceful. With health, life is happy. Third is joy. One smile is worth 10 years of youth. Those who cling to worldly status cannot live joyfully. People of old lived with streams, rocks, bamboo, and flowers. They befriended poetry, wine, calligraphy, and the game of Go. They loved letters ancient and modern, delighted in conversation and song, traveled to famous mountains and great rivers, climbed high to see far, sought the virtuous, and found lasting friendship. In pursuits unrelated to rank and profit, joy always accompanied life. Modern life is far busier and more stressful than in the past, yet we should still learn the art of joyful living from the ancients. Fourth is movement. People live by moving, trees die when moved. Hear the Buddha's teaching, movement nourishes life, and life abides in motion. Flowing water is always moving, so it does not become foul. A door latch that is often moved is not eaten by termites. We must keep a state of movement, and not settle complacently for the present or submit to it. Complacency deadens the soul. Better to rouse yourself and resist it. When pressed to the limit, change your thinking. People seek higher ground. Water flows to the low. Break through habits that have become too familiar. Dare to step outside your comfort zone and find a new resting point. A new place means a new beginning. Fifth is composure and clarity. Be clear to cultivate self and virtue. A calm mind requires clarity. Clarity can give rise to wisdom. The book says, with composure you gain, with agitation you lose. True composure is not a forced restraint that hides love and hate from your face, nor a deep and secretive mind that never shows itself. True composure is a life with goals and a genuine pursuit to fulfill the aims you have set. It is firm and unshakable. It does what is righteous without second-guessing. True composure is cutting off a hasty heart. Do not stand on one mountain while gazing at another. Do not chase vague, unreal fantasies, and do not harbor scattered or deviant thoughts. Amid countless temptations of sensual pleasure, do not let a single wrong thought make you swallow lifelong regret. Sixth is goodness. The benevolent endure. The Book of Changes says, a household that accumulates goodness will surely have surplus blessings. A household that accumulates non-goodness will surely have surplus calamity. The ancients often said, the benevolent live long. In common speech, good brings good returns, and evil brings evil returns. As the Buddha taught, being kind to others is ultimately being kind to yourself. Only a pure heart, free of ill will, can maintain goodness. Words, gestures, and actions that arise from this good heart bring ever greater benefit to body and mind, and finally receive good recompense. Therefore, kindly greet life, treat others kindly, and treat yourself kindly. Smile often and live each day with intention. This may be the true meaning of life. Seventh is realization. Splendor ends in emptiness. The world's splendor is only a surface appearance. All things will enter stillness and emptiness. Meet gain and loss with equanimity. Quietly watch all that is splendid, and face the noisy red dust with a broad and unworldly mind. Is this not realization? Realization is a kind of cultivation. It comes after sufficient experience, after weathering wind and frost, after transforming yourself through ordeals. Such transformation is not a dim retreat. It is a nirvanic rebirth in the midst of life's road. After a round of tempering, the worldly mind that has transformed meets everything with ease and calm. Having gained a sure grasp of things, one passes through life victorious.